do you agree with anybody who comes up with the sentence, he was to blame for being knifed in broad daylight 15 times in his neck?
If you're asking me who's to blame, I say the assailant, much like Douglas Murray said that the Christchurch killer, the one who massacred the Muslims in the mosque, but only the killer was to blame.
Hello guys, how you all doing? Welcome back again to another interesting debate from Douglas Murray. And the title of this video goes like this: Rose Day Attack Aftermath. Wow, I'm super sure you're going to love and enjoy every bit of this. So no further talking, let's dive into it and check it out.
About to witness a thought-provoking debate between Douglas Murray, a staunch defender of free speech, and Abdullah Al-Andalusi, focusing on the aftermath of the Salman Rushdie incident. In this heated debate, Murray emphasizes the sacrosanct nature of free speech, challenging the notion of its limits in light of provocative art and literature.
So for us tonight, there's one big question. Is there such a thing as too much free speech, or should we always defend the right to offend? Now, joining me from New York, I'm joined by conservative author Douglas Murray. To quote Piers Morgan, Douglas, has the world gone nuts, my friend?
You said at the beginning, is there any limit to free speech? And I'm rather disturbed we're still discussing this. It's 3 decades or more since the Satanic Verses affair. It was in 1989 that the Ayatollah Khomeini did the unpardonable, unforgivable thing of calling for the murder of a British novelist for the crime of writing a novel. And we had these debates back then. Where are the limits to free speech? Has Mr. Rushdie committed a crime as well as the Ayatollah? And a lot more guff like that. I'm rather disturbed that in all of the decades since, with all of the people who've been killed for asserting their right to free speech, or asserting their right to say what they think and for the rest of us to hear it, but we're still at this elementary playground level of discussion. I'm sorry to say that, but this is a long answered question. Our societies have perfectly good incitement laws in place. The rest of it, I'm sorry, no, we're not adapting our own speech codes. We're not going to make ourselves more sensitive to people who famously burn books that they can't even read. I mean, the Ayatollah Khomeini had never even read the Satanic Verses when he asked Muslims around the world to kill Salman Rushdie. It's an unpardonable thing that has happened. It is extraordinary to me that we're still having this discussion. Mm-hmm. We had the same discussion 7 years ago when the cartoonists of Charlie Hebdo were being murdered. We had the same discussion in all of these decades, and it's Muslims and non-Muslims who've been attacked. And we in the West still have this pathetic discussion about, oh, what are the limits of free speech? Really, we've got to get better than that.
Douglas, I agree with you, but it's not just Islam, is it? We'll talk to Abdullah Al-Andalusi in a minute, but it's also comedy. We talked about Dave Chappelle, we talked about Jimmy Carr. There doesn't seem to be a week that goes by without some comedian making a joke that a certain group, a certain number of people find distasteful. I obviously
well, that might be true.
I obviously come from a different planet, because here's what I would say. We have an on-off button. If you want to go and see a comedian, you buy a ticket. If you want to watch a television program, you pick that channel. If you want to read Salman Rushdie's book, you surely have a right. Are we not getting to the point where free speech is under attack in our world, in our nation?
It's been under attack for a long time. I don't particularly care for a lot of the sort of belly aching and complaining on rather frivolous online stuff that I hear from a lot of authors and others. I think that people have to toughen up a bit on some of that. But the Rushdie affair has always been in a different class, and there's a reason for that. And there's a reason why so many people today are willing to make death threats against authors and others for all sorts of things, including comedians. And it's because they saw that it works. Yeah. It works. When the Ayatollah called for the murder of Salman Rushdie, people on the left and right of British politics and British culture made excuses for the fatwa. I'm sure we'll hear some excuses today. They learned, our societies learned, that if somebody says, I'm offended, and then says, and as a result, I'm going to kill, you better be damn sure that you're willing to die for that. And unfortunately, the success of the Ayatollah's fatwa, among other things, is that it showed a load of other disgruntled people what they could do if they only had the disgustingness to think that they could exercise violence as an opposition to the pen. And I'm afraid that what happened, as I say, is that Muslim extremists across the UK and across the world showed they could intimidate people, and others undoubtedly have learned from this. But let's remember, Britain in 1989, we allowed Muslims in Bradford to burn the Quran, the satanic verses on the streets of Britain. We allowed prominent figures like Cat Stevens to excuse the murder of Salman Rushdie on the television. We allowed Iranian officials who had called for Rushdie's murder to live in London. Like, how stupid are we?
Interesting, Douglas. Thank you for Now in New York. Let's pick up now with journalist Martha Gill, Emma Wedd from the Free Speech Union and co-founder of the Muslim Debate Initiative, Abdullah Al-Andalusi. Let's start with you, if we can, Abdullah. Quite a strong rhetoric from Douglas Murray. I'm always aware that Muslim extremists do not in any way speak for the majority of Muslims, but to be fair, the Iranian government over the weekend said Rushdie was to blame for being attacked. That is completely and utterly despicable, isn't it?
Well, firstly, I find it rather strange that Douglas Murray, who's had a history of advocating for restrictions on Muslim speakers at universities...
But you can answer my question. Do you think it's despicable that the Iranian government have said that he took it on himself? He was stabbed in broad daylight. Do you find that despicable?
But if I may, he deigns to say he's a champion for free speech, so to speak, but yet his organisation argued for restrictions on, for platforms for Muslim speakers going to universities. He wanted to ban the burqa in public buildings and a kind of social ban on it in public. So for him, and argued that conditions for Muslims in Europe must be made harder across the board.
Let's bring Douglas back in. Douglas, wait.
I find it a little. I find it a little bit strange that he should deign to call himself, brazenly call himself, or at least imply he's some kind of champion for free speech. Or free expression.
Look, I've probably got to answer that. You'll have noticed, and all of your viewers will have noticed, that this Islamist lunatic in your studio can't answer the basic question. Let's try it again and make it simple for you. Why don't you say whether or not you are completely condemning of any violence against Salman Rushdie or anyone else who is deemed to have said something heretical? Why don't we start with the basics for you?
Okay, firstly, I want to answer his question, because he asked me first, which is about the Iranian regime. Well, having not being an Iranian citizen, nor participating in any elections to elect the Iranian regime, the Iranian regime doesn't really represent 1.8 billion Muslims. And
okay, so if you're here representing 1.8 billion Muslims, it's very simple. Douglas has just said it. All right, as your own self, having heard what he said, do you accept people saying, be it the Iranian government or Muslim extremists, and I made the caveat and I repeat it, Muslim extremists, that one of the biggest problems I have is that people look at the whole thing and they shouldn't. Do you agree with anybody who comes up with the sentence, he was to blame for being knifed in broad daylight 15 times in his neck? Do you?
The only person to blame for the knifing of Salman Rushdie is the assailant himself.
Not the Iranian regime who put the fatwa on him in the first place.
Well, unless you can demonstrate that they were specifically colluding or they sent an agent.
They said he was to blame.
He was in communication with the Iranian Revolutionary Guard.
And that's their opinion, right? But I'm only here to talk about, if you're asking me who's to blame, I say the assailant, much like Douglas Murray said that the Christchurch killer, the one who massacred the Muslims in the mosque, that only the killer was to blame, not those who radicalized him into viewing Muslims as a threat to the West.
What you'll find is that if somebody put millions of dollars on someone's head, yours, for instance, or mine, and somebody then attacked us, you would think that the person who had put millions of dollars on our head would bear some responsibility. But because you're such a dishonest weasel, you're not even willing to do that. You're not even willing to do the basic thing of condemning the attack.
Sticks and stones, Douglas Murray, sticks and stones.
Why don't we
You need to demonstrate that the person was motivated by the reward.
I'll tell you what I'd like to motivate. I'll tell you what I'd like.
In an era where the boundaries of free expression are constantly tested, Douglas Murray's argument stands as a beacon of clarity. He posits that the response to Salman Rushdie's "the satanic versus a fatwa calling for Rushdie's death" exemplifies a dangerous inclination to suppress dissenting voices under the guise of protecting religious sentiments. Murray's critique extends beyond this singular event, touching on a systemic issue within modern discourse, the conflation of criticism with blasphemy, and the subsequent justification of violence as a means of silencing opposition. The debate spotlights the critical distinction between speech that is merely offensive to some and speech that constitutes direct harm or incitement to violence. Murray emphasizes that while societies have established legal frameworks to address direct threats and incitement, the subjective perception of offense should not serve as a basis to curtail freedom of expression. Drawing from Murray's insights, it becomes evident that the defense of free speech is not merely about protecting the rights of the individual, but about preserving the foundational principles of a free and open society. He underscores the danger of capitulating to demands for censorship based on subjective offense, highlighting how such concessions can erode the very fabric of democratic discourse. Murray's arguments resonate with the views of other prominent thinkers and defenders of free speech. For instance, John Stuart Mill, in his seminal work on liberty, argued that silencing an opinion is essentially robbing humanity, posterity as well as the existing generation, those who dissent from the opinion still more than those who hold it. Mill's assertion that the clash of ideas is necessary for the discovery of truth underscores Murray's defense of free speech as a catalyst for societal growth and understanding. Recent surveys and studies have highlighted a growing concern regarding the erosion of free speech rights globally. According to Freedom House, there has been a notable decline in global freedom, including the freedom of expression, over the last decade. This decline underscores the timeliness and relevance of Murray's call to action. The defense of free speech is not just an academic or ideological stance, but a pressing necessity in the face of increasing attempts to curtail these freedoms, whether through government censorship, social media regulation, or societal pressure to conform to majority.
Oh, guys, what a heated debate! What a heated debate from this video. Like, I really enjoying every bit of it. Yes, guys, like what we just heard from Douglas Murray. He argued that the subjective perception of offense, that it should not serve as basis, okay, to certain freedom of speech. Right, so we can tell that from Douglas Murray's speech, he was just trying to prove his own points. Yes, he was just trying to prove his own points. So Douglas Murray was just trying to prove a point. He was just trying to tell them that, okay, that the defense of to protect an individual or free speech, that is not merely is not merely to protect the right of the individual, right? But to preserve the fundamental of a free and open society. Okay, guys, like before a society can move to any level, or before a society can move to the next level, like there's going to be a clash of idea, right? Like everybody they are just going to argue about that, and each of these people, guys, they may just trying to to bring out their own opinion. This one in the other way hand we try to prove his point, and the other person in the other way around we try to make his or our point. So at the end, I think they are going to look into the different points that each and every one of them has made, and they are going to decide on one. Yes, that is before any society can move to the next level. There's going to be a clash of different ideology, different ideas, different opinions, different perspective, okay, because each humans, they reason in different ways, not the way you reason that another person reason, not the way Mr. A thinks that Mr. A thinks. So there's going to be a clash of idea. Each and everyone will try to prove a point. So guys, I think any society that would think to take away the freedom of speech from the people, I think this society is trying to bring the society to backwardness. Instead of moving forward, they are not going to be moving backwardness, because freedom of speech is very, very important in the society where we live. Yes, people should have that right to speak their mind, to speak what is bothering them. It's very, very important. Like if the freedom of speech should be taken off, guys, there is going to be a lot of problem. That is, people cannot express their feelings. People cannot say what they want to say. People cannot express how how they feel about something or what they think about something. So I think in the society where we live, freedom of speech is very, very important and is very, very necessary for every individual. So for any society to move to the next level, there need to be a clash of ideas from different individuals. Okay, before any society can move to any level, there need to be a clash of ideas. People have to bring their different opinions, different reasons, different thinking. Yes, because if the freedom of a speech is being taken off, how are people going to bring their own idea? Yes, that will be very, very difficult. Like, only one person cannot just be bringing idea in a country. It should be a something of individual coming together. Let's say there is any problem in a society, when they are looking for the solution, at least they are going to bring different idea. This one has his own idea, this one has his own idea, this one has his own idea, and after the whole of everything, they are going to take all of the ideas into consideration. They are going to look into it. They are just going to know the best, the suitable one that will enhance the country. So if the freedom of speech is being taken away, guys, to me, I think it's improper. That will not be possible at all. Like, a lot of people are going to feel bad about it. Like, it's really it's very, very hurtful when you have something to say in mind and you are not given the opportunity to say that hurts. It hurts a lot. Okay, so I think the freedom of speech is very, very important in the society where we live. So to my own understanding, Douglas Murray was just trying to say that, okay, that is very, very necessary for every individual to have a freedom of a speech without life threatening. Okay, because there are some certain things that someone may have in mind to say, but because of life threatening, they will not even have that opportunity, that zeal, that boldness to express themselves. And most of these people, they are beginning to to feel bad about it. So Douglas Murray was like, okay, that freedom of speech is very, very important to every individual without life threatening, because that is very, very important in the society where we live. You shouldn't be deprived of speech. You shouldn't be deprived of making your own contribution. You shouldn't be deprived of saying how you feel about things, whether your feelings are positive or not. But that freedom of speech is very, very necessary. It's very, very important for every individual. So that is what Douglas Murray was just trying to pass on to the audience. So into this video, Douglas Murray was just trying to improve the freedom of speech to every individual. Yes, because it is so hurting when someone have something in mind to say, when something is bothering person and you don't even have that boldness, you don't have that courage to speak out. So Douglas Murray in this video is saying that it's very, very important for each and everyone to have that freedom of speech. You should be able to express yourself. You should be able to say how you are feeling. You should be able to say, okay, I love this. You should be able to say that I don't love this. You should be able to say that, okay, this thing is not supposed to be like this. You should be free to say that, okay, this is good. This is, you should have that freedom of speech to say when when something bother you or when something hurt you. So that is what Douglas Murray is trying to say, because you know, a lot of people, they have been deprived of freedom of speech. They cannot speak, and that is the worst thing that can happen to any man, when you are being deprived of freedom of speech, when you cannot speak. Even a child that is still growing on, that cannot talk, you know, when that child is trying to express how he or she is feeling, you will see that child, sometimes they feel so bad that they cannot talk. Okay, not to talk of an adult, a few grown human being, and you are not trying to deprive these people from freedom of speech. I don't think that is really right. Okay, so guys, I'm really so excited sharing this video with you, and I'm so excited knowing Douglas Murray, because ever since I've been watching Douglas Murray, guys, like, I've really learned a lot from him. This man is a man of wisdom, is a man of, you know, integrity. He's full of knowledge. His words are always vital. So guys, you guys know that I will always welcome and appreciate each and every one of you. Your comments, they are so special. So let me know what to think about this video. Do you think that freedom of speech is very important in the society where we live, or do you think that the freedom of speech should be deprived from every individual? Guys, let me know what to think about it. Okay, so you stay tuned. I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.